something terrible is coming. And most people have no idea what's about to happen to gold. I'm not saying this lightly. I've lived through booms, crashes, wars, fake recoveries, and fake money schemes. But what's coming next will shake the foundation of everything you believe about money, wealth, and security. I want you to pay attention because by the end of this conversation, you'll understand exactly why I'm calling this my last warning. Before I explain, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from? Write it in the comments. I want to know if you're in America, Nigeria, Australia, Japan, or wherever you are, because what I'm about to say doesn't apply to one country. This is a global shift. You see, money as you know it has already changed. The world just hasn't woken up yet. Now, I want to start by reminding you that I don't sell gold. I don't get commissions from telling you this. I buy gold because I know what's real. I call gold and silver God's money. Why? Because they were here when the earth was created, and they'll still be here when you and I are long gone. You can't print them. You can't fake them. You can't make them disappear with the click of a mouse. But the system that controls the world today is trying very hard to make you forget that. They want you comfortable holding paper, numbers on a screen, digital promises that mean nothing. So when I say something terrible is about to happen to gold, I don't mean gold will lose its value. I mean something far more dangerous. Gold will be attacked by governments, by digital currencies, by the same fake teachers and fake economists who've been lying to you for decades. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not an academic. I'm a capitalist. I don't teach theory. I teach reality. When I was a kid growing up in Hawaii, I had two dads. One was my real father, my poor dad. The other was my best friend's father, my rich dad. My poor dad believed in education, a job, a steady paycheck, and security. My rich dad believed in freedom, risk, and ownership. Those two different beliefs created two different lives. One man died broke, the other died wealthy. I learned early that schools don't teach you how money really works. Let me tell you a quick story. When I was 17 years old in 1964, America's money still had silver in it. The Kennedy half dollar was real silver. 1 year later in 1965, the government removed the silver and replaced it with copper. I held both coins in my hand and realized something strange was going on. One was real, the other was fake. That moment changed my life. I didn't have to go to Harvard to know something was wrong. I started saving silver coins, and I was a kid who didn't understand economics, but I could smell a lie. Then one day I came home from school and the bag was gone. My mother had spent them, not realizing she had thrown away real money for fake money. That was my first lesson in financial ignorance. And that's when I learned the truth of Gresham's law. When bad money enters a system, good money goes. And that's what's happening again today. The world is flooded with bad money. Governments print trillions out of thin air, and people call it stimulus, but you can't print wealth. You can only transfer it. Every new dollar created steals value from the dollars you already hold. Every new promise from the government pushes you deeper into dependency. Now, here's the real danger. When fake money collapses, people run to gold. They always have. Gold becomes the safe place, the final refuge. But this time, they won't let you run to it so easily. The new digital financial system that's being prepared will make owning physical gold harder, slower, and eventually restricted. They're already testing central bank digital currencies in several countries. Do you really think those systems will give you freedom? They'll give you control, but not your control, theirs. I've warned for years that savers are losers. That's not an insult. It's a fact. In 1970, if you had $1 million, you could earn 15% interest, about $150,000 a year. You could live comfortably. Today, that same million earns next to nothing. The system punishes savers and rewards debtors. I use debt to get rich because I understand that after 1971, when President Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, money became debt. The dollar became an IOU from the government, backed by nothing but trust. And trust, my friends, is the most fragile currency on earth. When I saw Nixon close the gold window in 1971, I knew we were entering a fake world, fake money, fake teachers, fake assets. And today we're seeing the results. The rich are getting richer because they understand the game. The poor and middle class are getting wiped out because they're playing by old rules. They still believe saving dollars will protect them. It won't. You can't save fake money. Look, I know what some of you are thinking. Robert, gold always goes up in the long run. Maybe, but I want you to think deeper. What happens when they make it impossible for you to use it? What happens when the government says you can't buy or sell gold without approval? What happens when your gold-backed ETF isn't really backed by gold at all, just another piece of paper? You think that's impossible. That's exactly what happened before. History repeats itself just with better technology. I'll reveal more as we go, but I want you to remember this. Every financial crisis is preceded by deception. When people are comfortable, they stop paying attention. When they stop paying attention, someone else starts managing their future. So stay with me, because before this talk ends, I'll show you exactly what's about to happen to gold and how to protect yourself before it's too late. Let's go back to 1971. That year changed everything. It's the year President Richard Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard. I was a young man then, serving as a Marine pilot, and I didn't fully understand what that decision meant, but my rich dad did. He told me, "Robert, from today on, the poor and middle class will spend their lives working for money that no longer exists." He was right. When the dollar stopped being backed by gold, it stopped being real. Governments could now print as much as they wanted, and every time they did, your savings lost value. From that point on, money became debt, and debt became money. It was like switching the rules of a game halfway through and not telling the players. Most people never noticed. They just kept working harder, saving harder, paying more taxes, and buying things they thought were assets. Now, let me ask you something. Have you noticed how everything feels more expensive? Gas, groceries, housing, education. That's not just inflation. That's theft. Inflation is a tax on people who don't understand money. It silently steals from your paycheck and your savings account. The government calls it stimulus or quantitative easing. I call it legalized counterfeiting. In 1971, gold was about $35 an ounce. Today, it's thousands. Did gold get more valuable? Number, the dollar got weaker. The more money they printed, the less each dollar could buy. And yet the school system kept telling kids to save money, work for wages, and invest in the stock market for the long term. That's the recipe for poverty, because when you work for money, you're taxed the most. When you save money, it loses value. And when you invest in paper assets you don't control, you're gambling on a system that's rigged against you. This is what I call the age of fake money. Fake money creates fake teachers and fake assets. It's all connected. Think about it. Most teachers who tell you to save money and get a safe job have never built wealth themselves. They don't know how money works, because schools were designed to produce employees, not entrepreneurs. My poor dad followed that path all his life. He was an educated man, a good man, but he died broke. My rich dad was a high school dropout who owned real estate, businesses, and investments that generated cash flow whether he worked or not. You see, that's the difference between the poor and the rich. The poor work for money. The rich make money work for them. The poor buy liabilities and call them assets. The rich buy assets that generate cash flow. The poor pay taxes. The rich use debt and taxes to grow richer. Let me give you an example. If you have a job and you earn a paycheck, you might pay 40% in taxes. If you run a small business, it could be 60%. But if you own a big business or invest in real estate, you might pay 20%, maybe even zero. Why? Because the government rewards behavior that creates jobs, housing, and innovation. The tax code is an instruction manual on how to get rich legally. It's not about cheating. It's about learning the rules of the game. That's why I call people who refuse to study money financially lazy. They want safety more than freedom. They don't want to think. They just want a paycheck every 2 weeks. But the truth is, the paycheck is the modern chain. It keeps you dependent on a system that's collapsing in slow motion. Now let's tie this back to gold. When Nixon detached the dollar from gold, he didn't just change money. He changed trust. For thousands of years, gold was the anchor of honesty in trade. You couldn't print it, fake it, or replace it. It was the universal language of value. But when they removed gold, they replaced real value with promises. And promises can always be broken. That's why I hold gold and silver. I call them God's money because they're honest. You can't manipulate nature. You can't create more gold out of thin air. You can't change its chemical makeup. It's eternal. Governments can lie, but gold tells the truth. Here's what worries me. The financial system today is built entirely on trust, and that trust is running out. Central banks are printing trillions to keep the illusion alive. Banks lend out money they don't have. People trade stocks they can't touch. Companies are valued at hundreds of billions. Even though they've never made a profit, this is not capitalism. It's financial theater. Every time I look at the news and see another $1 trillion package announced, I shake my head. People celebrate it like free money, but free money is never free. Every dollar printed devalues the dollars in your pocket. Every bailout makes you poorer. Every rescue plan is another way to trap you. And gold, the one thing that could protect you, is being pushed to the sidelines. They call it old-fashioned. They call it a barbaric relic. They want you to believe digital assets are the future. But let me tell you something. When your wealth exists only as numbers on a screen, it can disappear overnight. One glitch, one freeze, one government order, and it's gone. I've seen this movie before. It's called Control. In the name of innovation, they'll create digital currencies controlled by central banks. And they'll tell you it's for your safety, your convenience, your protection against fraud. But what it really means is surveillance, total financial control. They'll know what you spend, where you spend it, and who you give it to. And when that system becomes dominant, gold will be the enemy of control because it exists outside their network. That's the terrible thing I'm warning about. They won't destroy gold. They'll destroy your ability to use it freely. They'll make it harder to buy, store, or trade without permission. And most people won't fight back because they're too busy scrolling, spending, and staying comfortable. I want you to think about something. If the power goes out for a week, what happens to your digital wallet? What happens to your online bank? What happens to your savings? They vanish. But if you have physical gold or silver, you still have value in your hand. You still have power. By the end of this conversation, I'm going to show you what's already happening to gold and how you can protect yourself before the curtain drops. But first, we need to go deeper into how the system was designed to make you poor, blind, and dependent. Now let's get into what's really happening behind the curtain. The manipulation of gold is not new. It has been going on for decades, and most people never notice because they don't understand how markets actually work. The price you see on the news isn't the real price of gold. It's the paper price controlled by traders and institutions that never touch the metal. They trade contracts, not coins. They move billions in fake gold every day. It's the same old trick. Flood the market with paper promises so people lose interest in the real thing. I saw this pattern coming years ago. When I started buying gold and silver in the 1970s, people thought I was crazy, right? I've said it many times before. Debt and taxes make the rich richer. Debt and taxes make the poor and middle class poorer. When I borrow to buy real estate, that debt becomes my asset because someone else is paying it off for me. The tenant pays the rent pays the loan. I get the cash flow, the appreciation, and the tax breaks. That's real financial intelligence. But what's happening now is far bigger than real estate. We are entering a time when even the definition of money is being rewritten. They are already testing central bank digital currencies in several countries. China is ahead. The European Union is not far behind. The United States is preparing too, quietly behind all the political noise. And when that system goes live, it will change everything you think you know about gold, because once money becomes completely digital, they won't need to ban gold outright. They'll simply make it irrelevant to your daily transactions. They'll make it hard to convert. They'll track every trade. And once you can't easily use it, most people will stop bothering to hold it. Think about it. They don't need to take your freedom away if they can make you trade it for convenience. People said they'd never give up cash. Then credit cards came, then mobile wallets. Now we tap our phones and feel modern, but every tap is a data point. They know what you buy, how often, and from whom. That's power. And power is what this game is really about. Not gold, not money, control. So here's the hidden danger. When the next crisis hits, and it will, governments will introduce digital currencies as the solution. They'll say it's safer, cleaner, more stable. They'll link it to universal income or debt relief. And when people accept it, physical money will start disappearing. Then they'll link it to carbon tracking, to fair spending, to security. Suddenly, you'll wake up in a world where every transaction is monitored, every donation, every tip, every purchase. You won't own your financial privacy anymore. That's when gold becomes dangerous, not to you, but to them. Why? Because gold is untraceable. Gold doesn't need the internet. Gold doesn't obey inflation or politics. Gold represents independence. And independence is a threat to any system built on control. That's why they'll keep mocking it, suppressing its price, and pushing you toward digital assets that they can monitor. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't use technology. I use it. I'm not anti-progress. I'm anti-ignorance. I want you to see what's happening before it's too late. When the government tells you they want to modernize money, ask yourself who benefits. When they tell you they want to protect you from fraud, ask who the real fraud is. When they say gold is outdated, ask why central banks still hoard it by the ton. That's the irony. While they tell you gold is useless, they're buying it quietly. Look at the data. Central banks around the world have been stockpiling gold at record levels. Why? Because they know what's coming. They know the dollar is losing credibility. They know the global debt bubble can't expand forever. And when it bursts, gold will be the only trust left standing. This is what I call the final stage of the fake money system. First, they replaced real money with paper. Then they replaced paper with numbers. The next step is to replace numbers with control, digital control. And when that happens, gold won't vanish. It will just move underground. It will go into hiding like it always has. Smart people will hold it quietly. The masses will mock it until they need it. And when they finally realize its value again, it will be too late to buy at a reasonable price. I often get asked, Robert, what's your prediction for gold in the next 5 years? My answer is always the same. I don't predict prices, I predict behavior. When trust in governments falls, gold rises. When they print too much, gold rises. When they attack freedom, gold rises. So you don't need to time the market, you just need to understand the cycle. But here's what makes this time different. In the past, you could escape a collapsing currency by moving your wealth into gold or silver. You could carry it, hide it, or trade it. In the digital age, escaping will be harder. You'll need to be strategic. You'll need to combine assets, physical gold, productive investments, and financial intelligence to stay free. Remember this. The government's weapon isn't force, it's ignorance. They don't need to take your gold if they can convince you it's worthless. They don't need to take your money if they can make you spend it faster than you earn it. They don't need to censor you if they can distract you. Every fake teacher, every fake expert, every fake news headline about economic recovery is part of that distraction. I've said a lot already, but this is the part I really want you to remember. Everything that's happening right now is a test of awareness, of discipline, and of courage. The world is changing faster than most people can process, but the truth hasn't changed. The rich still buy assets, the poor still buy liabilities, and the middle class still works for money that loses value every day. The only difference now is the speed of the game. What took decades to unfold before now happens in months. Something terrible is coming for gold, but it's not the metal itself that's in danger. It's the freedom that gold represents. The power to hold value outside the system, the ability to choose what you trade for your labor, the independence to say no when the world says yes. Those freedoms are being erased bit by bit, not through war, but through policy, not through force, but through convenience. They'll tell you digital money is the future. They'll tell you gold is outdated. They'll tell you not to worry, that your savings are safe. But ask yourself, when has a government ever given power back once it's taken it away? I've lived long enough to see how the game is played. They start with promises, then they move to rules, and then they move to control. It begins with stimulus checks and ends with surveillance. It begins with convenience and ends with dependency. And the saddest part is people will thank them for it. They'll thank them for making things easier while losing everything that made them free. That's why I call this my last warning. Not because I'm retiring or running away, but because we're reaching a point of no return. When digital currencies become the norm, when cash disappears, when banks decide what you can and can't buy, that's when most people will realize what gold truly meant. But by then, it will be too late for many. You can't wake up in a crisis and expect to prepare overnight. You have to prepare now. So what do? First, educate yourself. Financial education is the foundation of freedom. Don't depend on what they teach in school. Schools were designed to create employees, not thinkers. Learn how money really works. Learn about taxes, debt, inflation, and assets. Second, own something real. Gold, silver, real estate, productive businesses, things that hold value no matter what the headlines say. And third, protect your cash flow. Cash flow is your lifeline. Assets that generate income will save you when fake money fails. I'm not telling you to panic. I'm telling you to wake up. I'm telling you to be proactive instead of reactive. Most people will wait until the government tells them what's happening. By that time, they'll already be trapped in the system. Don't wait for permission to think for yourself. Don't wait for the news to confirm what you already feel in your gut. You know something isn't right. You can feel it. The prices go up, the quality goes down, and yet they keep telling you everything's fine. That's the lie that keeps people asleep. Here's what I do personally. I own gold and silver. I own businesses. I invest in education and I invest in people. I use debt to grow, not to survive. And I never stop learning. That's the mindset that separates the rich from everyone else. The rich ask, how can I use this situation to grow? The poor ask, when will things go back to normal? Nothing goes back to normal. The world keeps moving forward, and you either move with it or get left behind. I want you to think about the last time you held a gold coin in your hand. How did it feel? Heavy, right? That weight isn't just metal. It's history. It's truth. It's thousands of years of human trust in one object. When everything else collapses, gold remains. Empires rise and fall, currencies are born and die, but gold stays. That's why I call it God's money, because no matter how powerful a government becomes, it cannot create or destroy it, and that's why they fear it. That's why they try to control it, because gold exposes the lie of paper wealth. People often ask me if I think gold will hit a certain price. I don't care about the price. I care about value. A rising price doesn't mean gold is stronger. It means the dollar is weaker. When you understand that, you stop chasing numbers and start chasing knowledge. You stop asking, how much will gold be worth? And start asking, how much will my freedom be worth when they take it away? So let me leave you with this thought. When fake money finally dies, gold will not save everyone. Only the people who understood its meaning early will be safe, because gold is not a get-rich tool. It's a stay-free tool. It's a reminder that no matter how advanced we become, truth still matters. Real still matters. And integrity still matters. I've shared my warning. I've shown you what's coming. The question now is what you'll do with it. Will you keep scrolling, keep hoping, keep pretending, or will you take action? Will you learn? Will you prepare? I can't make that choice for you. I can only show you the path I've walked, the lessons I've learned, and the mistakes I've paid for with time and experience. So take this as you will. Something terrible is coming for gold, but something beautiful is coming for those who understand it, for those who stay alert, who think independently, who hold real value when fake systems fall apart. The future will belong to the financially educated, not the financially comfortable. Stay aware, stay curious, stay free, and remember, gold doesn't lie. People do.